Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Manga of the Week. This is week number 6? I think so. I don't remember the title. I do apologize for that. All right, so today all chapters are out. So we got My Hero Academia, Undead Unluck, One Piece, and Doctor Stone. No other additional series added at the moment right now, just to keep timing going and properly. So we're just gonna jump straight into the fray. Boom. Oh, wait, I should probably introduce what this is. Okay, this is my Manga of the Week reaction video, where I take my personal favorite series that I am currently reading from Shonen Jump manga, and I rank them from each of them coming out, or in each chapter that comes out weekly, I rank them in my own order, and how I felt how those chapters went for the week, and which one was the better chapter. So, all amazing series, all the things you can do on not a sponsor, but you can definitely go and read them on the Viz Media website, where it's only $2 a month, which is nothing at all, and you can easily read mangas on there from to the latest. You get to read at least 100 free chapters every day. Otherwise, the site lets you read the latest 5 chapters for free on there. So, but without further ado, we're gonna just come straight into it. So right now we have My Hero Academia, chapter 264, and I don't think we got. No, we did. Okay, so the title of this episode is called One's Justice. So right away, we're continuing the attack on the Liberation Front, and we find out as more of the Liberation lackeys are screaming for Ray Destro, and they're asking like Ray Destro, Destro, Ray Destro, and he's like, he has this smile on his face, and I love Ray Destro because like his quirk is like the more stress he gets, the more powerful he becomes, and so he's always living life like trying to be stress free, like he's just hiding that stress, and they're like freaking out because like the heroes are coming. They're like, I can hear you loud and clear, and then the guy behind him, where I forget his name, I'm mad I forgot, because the Liberation Front, they actually are really funny on the outside. Okay, yeah, Trumpet is behind Redestro, and he's kind of telling me we can't have any eruptions today, and then all of a sudden, they start going off about how their comms are jammed, they're being infiltrated right now, the mansion's being torn apart, a whole bunch of ridiculous number of heroes showed up out of nowhere, and he goes from like smiling to like freaking out. He's like, what? He's like, all his stress is unleashed. And then we continue where Kaminari, or aka Charge Bolt, is taking on the mysterious guy right now. And so, you know, they're like, good job continuing from what you just did from there. And then next thing we know, we get, I know his name, I know his name, I know his name, I forget his name, I know his name, I know his name. There's so many heroes. I don't know why I keep up with these because I like when they explain them each time. But we get Edge Shot, sorry, and so what he does is he does 1,000 Sheep Pierce, which is really cool. He goes through each of the villains, and then the next panel he explains that he's put tiny holes in their lungs. So then the next time they try to breathe, Midnight comes through with her smoke, and they are all enveloped by it, and they're all knocked out from there. And then from there, Kamori Woods uses lacquered chain prison to grab them all up. And so then a couple of other little villains are like, this is a mess, even the regiments are falling. There's something we can do. We might as well get out of there. He's like, at least if we're going to go down, at least take a couple people with you. And then we see from Class 1B, Mudman and Shimage. I think I'm saying her name wrong. Mudman's using the floor to capture them, and Shimage's using her mushrooms to mess with them too. They're having a hard time with the spores that are being spread out. And then Gang Orca starts charging into the building. And next thing we know, we get Hawk. Which I love his abilities because it's just feathers and he's strong, but then he can also use the little feathers on the main feather and just use those as little darts. And he's talking with Twice, and he's just letting them know, he's like, you know, I already had your guys' number. He's like, especially to keep an as sharp eye on you and your doubles certainly can leave you to your own devices. And he's like, just basically saying, you know, I've been a hero this whole time, I've been infiltrating you guys, I was never on your team. And Twice is upset and under regrets. He starts crying because he's like, you know, every time this happens, I try to take her. He's like, someone's got to pay for this. He starts remembering when Sis Mags dies, how they blew Mr. Compress's arms to bit, and he's like, he thinks about like all his failures, about the latest things, the people he's lost, and the regrets that they've had being villains, you know. And it's just so cool because like Hawks, he's straight serious. Like he's like, I'm on the hero side, but like it's just a dark silhouette over him the whole time, and it's really intimidating too. I can't wait to see this in the anime. And so, you know, Twice is talking about how like he trusted Hawks, and he really did trust him, and Hawks lets him know, he's like, you know, you've just been unlucky, but you can start fresh once you pay for your crimes. He's like, I'll even help you start over because you're a good person. And Twice is a good person. If you watch throughout the series or read the manga, he does end up caring about people, but he's on the wrong side of caring. He's on the villain side. He's on the side that wants to hurt people and kill people. It's not the side you want to be on. You want to be on the righteous side. And Twice as a hero could do a lot of help, but he's got way too many mental issues, and he thinks that these people, because they understand him, they will be able to work together with him. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. They're not. I mean, he's got a good villain team. They do care about each other, but he can't do anything about it. So, and so then Twice actually does start questioning Hawks. He's like, "You call yourself a hero, fresh start. That's a little crap." He's like, and then Hawks is like, "Stop it." And he's like, "Come on." He's like, "Bubigara," and Twice he's just freaking out. He's like, "There's no way of me going back." He's like, "I stopped giving a damn way back." And Hawks is like, "I don't want to fight you." And Twice is like, "Well, good for you." And he ends up mass producing a whole bunch of different clones. He goes, I trade my soul for the League's happiness. And he uses a move called Sandman's Parade. And just a whole bunch of Twices crying. And I can't tell who exactly is the voiceover on this next part. I think it's either Hawks or Dobby. Because we get a scene of Dobby going up the stairs. And he's like, "Twice, this isn't your fault. As always, scummy heroes are to blame." And I didn't know if that was like Hawks saying that too. Because there's not all villains, not all heroes are just that good, but I don't know. It is kind of heartbreaking to want to mess somebody who is nice like Twice is, but again, he's misled. So that was My Hero Academia Chapter 264, and actually, I'm just gonna be transitioning right over into the next one. So here we have Dr. Stone 143. So this chapter. Reading it, I had a lot of laughs, and it kind of it's kind of weird how where it's getting right now as far as this chapter goes. I guess the writer just wanted to do something really, excuse me, just really different as far as like a progress for a decision. So basically, going into it right away, Minami is talking about a recorder. So it looks like Kisuke and Chrome, they built a voice recorder for her. So she's going to record their journeys as they go to repair the world and as they're on their way to America. And so right away she starts off by trying to introduce each of the members, and we get Tsukasa. His title is Strongest Primate High Schooler. He's interviewing about how he will not let people who build guns or was evil defile science with blood. Then we get Gen, the insecure mentalist, is what it says. And so he starts talking about how the Statue of Liberty is possibly made out of copper, and then Suika, the great detective, talks about how she can be hopeful in the rest of the series, or the rest of the journey. Then Keisuke, the golden artisan, and then Chrome, inspired science user, they talk about how they made the voice recorder and they're proud of her for using it. And then, because she's just trying to question about how they feel about setting sail, and none of them's answering it. And then the funny part we get, which is kind of cute, is we get Kirasame, the straight-laced warrior with a throwing arm. And then Minami is asking her about what do you think you probably get along with Kinro, our crew member. Well, we'll write a comment. She's like, I don't know anything about that. And so it's kind of crazy, because then Minami's asking what he thinks of Kirasame for Kinro. And, he's like, she's a skilled warrior, to be sure, perhaps even stronger than me. We'll have to train harder so as to not lag behind. And the funny part about all this is that when Kirasame was questioned about Kinro, she actually ends up blushing, but Kinro just is like talking about her like he has no idea. So it seems like Kirasame might have a thing for Kinro, which would be really cute in the whole sense of this whole thing. But I love it because it's Kinro, the straight-laced spear hero. Then we get Matsukaze, revenge-driven samurai is his title, and he's talking about how now Genro looks just like his previous master, and now he will get revenge on the person who originally petrified them for his master, and will serve Genro. He's like, what do you mean I tend to his every whim, you say? Nonsense. I merely carry him when his legs fail him. And then Genro starts talking about like, yeah, my legs are cramps. Right before we shipped out, I was in a big pinch. He's like, and he carried me on the board. And it's so funny because like Kinro, he's crying and his nose is like dripping, and it goes Genro, super sleazy warrior. And the funny part is like the next part is like he's freaking out, like the boredom's killing me. He's asking how many more weeks it's gonna take. And I wish I could show this, but I would rather you go read it. There's this next panel, which is page 4 and 5, and it's a picture of the ship in the corner and then the ocean. And this art is just, oh, like I had to pause. I probably paused for a good 2 minutes looking at the detail of this picture and just seeing the amazing. He drew the clouds, he drew the ocean, the simple waves in between. It literally looks like you probably could have Googled this and just slapped it in the manga. But I don't think that's the case here. Like, it looks legitly drawn on, and it is insane how well this looks. So kudos to the author here. Um, then the next scene we get is they're going through a storm, and they're still complaining about how many more weeks it's going to take. And then we get Ryusui, ship captain, and Senku, science captain, and they're arguing. Ryusui thinks it's going to take, he wants it to take 70 days to get there. Senku wants to take 40 days. Minami doesn't understand why they're fighting. So then Taiju, he ends up appearing, not Taiju, I'm sorry. No, it is Taiju. Okay, I was right, correct in his name. He ends up appearing into between Ryusei and Senku. He's like, fighting is no good, because they were arguing. And they're like, what is going on here? And so they're talking about the distance it's going to take to get to America as they're trying to reach San Francisco. And everyone thinks, well, if we just take a straight line from Tokyo to San Francisco, we'll make it, that's the fastest way to make it, correct? And, you know, Ryusui is for this plan, and he's letting them know it would take 70 days to get there. And they're like, oh, okay, sweet, it'll be 70 days to America. And Senku is actually, wrong. He mentions that the shortest route is actually, instead of taking a straight line, going around it. And what he explains is because the globe of the surface is the compass of the planet itself, because it's on a global scale, if you go around it, it could take you 40 days. And that would be a bit treacherous, harder journey, because they'd have to make sure they got their sails right. They'd have to coordinate the sails. The sea can be a lot more ruthless, and you take a little bit of what is known as the shorter route, it seems like. And Senku's argument for this is that if they arrive in 40 days, they'll slide right into autumn safe. The corn will be ripe, corn will be a little past ripe, but that'll save us some time drying it out. They'll be able to produce alcohol they need for the revival fluid in that time frame. But after he mentions that after a 70-day trip, then it'll be winter time, and they'll be stuck in the U.S., wasting a whole year of valuable time in the fight against Y-Man. And he's saying that it has to be 40 days, not 70. And so, you know, Ryusui is looking out for the rest of the crew and for a realistic approach, while Senku's just being logical and thinking about the future. So it's tough to decide who's right. But Gen, he wants to consider, he's on Team Ryusui because he's no fan of hard arbor lay. But Kohaku is on Senku's side. Why not, to arrive as soon as humanly possible. So they're talking about how they'll have to double down on rations and how they have to shave off 10 days. Is the most they can do is we can shave off 10 days from the 70. And he's like, that's what we're going to have to do if it means, he's like, I'll have to stand up for the crew's rights if it means opposing you, Senku. And Senku's like, well, 40 days, that's our time limit. So then you get like an epic panel of both their shirts are off of them, and they're like completely naked, exploding with power about, looks like we're doing this, it's on. And so now there's a showdown between Senku and Ryusui, and, you know, Senku isn't going to be a physical fighter, neither would Ryusui. So the next panel is they're all about to play poker. They're going to face off in a game of poker. They're in their fancy suits. Ukyo's the dealer. And so then the cool thing is Gen mentions how he's on the team of Ryusui, and then Kohaku is on Senku's side for poker. So I don't see Senku losing this, but if he did, that would be huge. And that's legitimately how it ends, is that they're going to be Ryusui and Gen and Senku and Kohaku against each other in a poker match. So I really want to see how this plays out and what goes on. And it's really cool, too, because, like, to fit the theme, everyone's in, like, a casino outfit. You got Senku and Ryusui in their own, like, casual suits. And then you have Ukyo in, like, a dealer outfit with the rolled up sleeves. And then you have Gen in the suit as well. And then Kohaku's in a really nice dress, and she looks absolutely pretty. And that's where it just ends. They're going to go off in a game of poker to decide what route they're going to take to decide what days it gets there. So I get the argument, too, for Ryusui. I do. You know, he wants to just make sure the crew isn't so pushed to the limits about trying to get there. If they rush it, there's going to be a lot more things, you know, run on the ship. It's going to be a lot harder to navigate. The crew's going to be more taxed probably by the time they get there. But Senku's got a point, too, is that if they get there during the winter time, everything they built up in Tokyo is in Japan is not in America. America is still back to being at level 0 with how the civilization within the Stone War was. So there's not much to go off of in there if they arrive in the winter time. So I do hope Senku wins because of the right way, but also maybe something in between will happen that you never expect. That's how these mangakas like to do their stuff. So that was a very interesting chapter. I loved it. But that was Dr. Stone, chapter 143. And excuse me, but I did state it. It was the episode. It was called Ryusui versus Senku. So I get into the chapter title. I do apologize for that. So that's out of the way. Next, we actually have then Undead Unluck, number 9, United We Negate. This chapter was confusing. I had to read it a couple times, and I'm still confused. So basically, let's get the introductions of some of the people in the Union. So right away we begin, and it continued off from when Andy had shot off his parts at the Union. And it continues with one of the members still saying, "Welcome to the Union." And last time it was like sick, wicked sick. They had tipped their glasses together. But then this time, it seemed like it continued from there. Or no, it might have continued after it or whatever. But after he says sick, wicked sick, there's actually a giant robot fist that comes through, punches him, and legitimately kills him against the wall. And next thing you know is there's someone like breathing hard. So it seems like there's probably a person inside this suit. And, oh, okay, I'm starting to get that now too. Then there's the character who looks really cool. He goes, "Cool it to Tanya," and she's pissed off because he goes, "He killed Miss Gina." And, they mentioned how fighting against members is strictly forbidden, and it's cool because Andy provokes her by telling her he's quick to temper, and her hand all of a sudden just like slices up and bursts away. And so you could tell that Andy, in that moment he got hit, he had cut her fingers, which was really cool. But then the leader of the group says, "Stop this now." And the next crazy part is that like Andy moves his sword to Fuuko's neck, and he's like, "I can't control my actions." And so the leader just asks that they finally calm down so they could talk about their plan. And next thing you know, he says apocalypse, and a book appears, but it's like a demonic book. Like, it's closed, and its eye appears, its mouth opens, and it talks about fresh blood and about Fuuko, and mentions that there are 6 quests this time. And it randomly names off 6 different quests. Capture Uma, participant count 6, rewards addition of 11th seat, capture of the Uma Eat, participant count 5, reward location of Negator on Burn, and then there is one, capture of Uma Spoil, participant count 3, reward location of Negator on Repair. So it seems like it is a video game. It randomly has quests. How many people can participate in that quest, and what the rewards will be for that quest. So Fuuko's asking these questions to Andy. There's a guy next to him who's like, just like staring at them off in space. And what it mentions is that all the quests are not fulfilled. If all the quests are not fulfilled by August 31st, the penalty will be the addition of Uma Galaxy, which is like, what? Okay. And then it says now choose, and each of them are choosing their quests. And they're talking about which quests they should prioritize being members towards the quest and how to clear them, and what will strengthen their forces as which ones are the right rewards they should go for first. And then Annie does ask the guy next to her, about the Book of Apocalypse and about what it's doing, and it mentions that it's a first artifact found on Earth, and then when the 10 Negators hit the round table, it opens and forces a bunch of ridiculous tasks on them. And Fuuko goes to explain that, so she's like, you don't really have to do that, right? There's no point in getting hurt. There's no point in having to use people's abilities and force them to do that and suffer. And she's like, I don't know what's going on, but this needs to stop now. And the leader, he just states that 98 rules have been made. The number of times that rules have been added is 98. He mentions sex, language, race, death, sickness. These are but a single handful. Once every 3 months, new penalties are added even without our intervention. He's like, which is why we need to intervene and achieve our goal. We will kill the beings who force these rules upon the earth, the creator, the God who resides on the other side of the book. So, and he's mentioning how, like, if she wants to stop things or to stop it in a different way, she would need to take her number and go from number 1. So she'd have to surpass the leader so far and take his position right from him. And so while she's still talking to him, Andy actually climbs on the table and he opens up the book's mouth and he goes, which of these quests is the hardest? Come on, fess up. And they're like, you can't mess with the apocalypse. And it bites off his hands and his hands are just gone. And he's like, he's already undead, so it doesn't matter to him. And the book starts mentioning that the hardest one would be Spoil, rookie. Participant count 3. Reward is, and he's like, sick, wicked sick. Then here's who's going. Me, the girl, and the Chinese kid over there. Which is Sen. And so... or Shen, sorry. And the funny thing is, something I actually skipped over, unfortunately, was that the leader did mention that thanks to Shen's recommendation, that he invited them both to this current meeting. And he was originally the one who did request the kill on Lucky and Fuuko. Or, sorry, yeah, Lucky and Unluck. That's what I call them both. Fuuko will be Lucky, Unluck will be Andy. And how he ordered the kill on them because they were just kind of been a nuisance on the side. They could have been a great risk to them. So... but after he mentions that Shen is joining part of it, the Apocalypse says, request accepted, let the quest begin. And so now, most likely what I think is that Andy forced him to join so he knows more about Shen's powers. Because he already knew Shen so before, and Shen never answered his question about how his powers work. Now working together, they'll have to fight Spoil and work together with figuring out his powers. So, honestly, this series is great. Like, even though it's really weird, I wish we got more introductions as far as the reunion, because I kept saying the leader, and then Shen, then this kid, this guy. Obviously, you got to read it for yourself, but they don't have names just yet. So I'm hoping next chapter we get their names and information and who they are. And then usually like that thing about what their powers' names are, but maybe we won't get that much. But either way, I want to see what the rest of the Negators, the Union, are like. I want to know what their names are. And I want them to be a bit more, or definitely more revealed in the series, so I can, like, just figure out which ones I like. Because Shen, he's pretty funny right now, so, but it's kind of cool, because they're trying to take on the God of the World, but usually when the leader wants that, he wants to replace them and then do evil things too, so I don't know if we're going to follow a cliche thing like that, but I'm glad Fuuko is standing up more for what she wants as far as trying to help people, but to be the #1 person in an organization like that, it may be possible because if Andy wants to die and he wants to be completely gone for good, then she's left alone and she's the leader of the organization while Andy's completely gone. So that could be a case of what happens at the series. So, but that was Undead Unluck chapter number 8. And now we have one I was really excited for. One Piece chapter 974, Onward to Onigashima. And right away we start off with getting Beige, save the Godfather's wife. So we see that wow, I forgot her name. Well, we see that Gangbench's wife is being saved at the moment. And they got away, because last time, remember, she was captured, if you're watching the whole intro screening thing. She's captured, and they're still sitting there in Dressrosa. Now, I'm wondering if this is actually Lola. Because there's... I'm trying to think. I forgot the name. You know what? Hold on. Chiffon is her name. My bad. My bad. I had that wrong. My bad. So, yeah. So, Gangbeige's wife is hopefully being saved. But again, it could end up being Lola, which is her sister, which is who we were trying to look for, who was possibly seen on Dressrosa. So, I guess we'll see that more as we go through. But this chapter... this chapter. So we continue off with Daifuku. Or, oh my god, I can't remember these names right now. I am failing. What happens is we just kind of continue the conversation they had from the end of the last chapter about how Komurasaki, about what he wants to do is that he has more coins for you, Ushimitsu. You're putting yourself in danger again. Well, the money checks out. I'll go distribute it in Ebisu town. So basically all the money that they've been building and things like that, he goes around and distributes it all around the town to keep them profited. And he talks about how Orochi is completely smitten by you, but, he can't find out that you're Lord Onin's daughter. And if there ever comes a situation, we'll separate with Orochi from Orochi through death in order to keep you safe. And he's like, remember to wear these blood bags under your kimono. So when we saw him cut her down after he had, Orochi had been made fun of or hurt by her actions that happened when they had met, and he cut her down. It was actually the blood bags he cut, so she was never actually hurt. And then we go back in time where a few months ago, where Orochi's freaking out that the people from the past did come from the burning castle. And I guess the main significant thing about this is, like, Kaido's like, well, he's like, you're sure someone isn't just getting a rise out of it because you're terrified? And he goes, I'm sure of it, look at this letter. And Kaido does mention that he's like, if the Kozuki survivors are still alive after the last 20 years, I have questions for them. And so, which is kind of crazy because, like, the last time they saw them was 20 years ago, but he has a question, which is most likely about when Odin was on the ship with Gold Roger and what they found. Because 20 years have passed since Roger died while they were all together, but 20 years have passed since then, and so much has happened in the world. And, you know, maybe he'll ask them if he, like, found a way how to die or something like that. Because the way Kaido's face looks, like he's just looking to the side, you know, like he's thinking about something. So, then it goes on, which is the crazy part, is that Orochi starts talking about his spy and whose follower is, and how the main follower is from the Kurozumi family. He's like, you know, he's using him as a way to be his true Kozuki vassal. So he's like, you'll live your life as a true Kozuki, and ultimately, without a single soul noticing, you will die as a Kozuki. That's the grand role that I give you for this stage. Can you play it for me? And so he's talking about how he's always searching for the right place to bury his bones. It would be an honor, is what the spy says. So, and then Orochi goes on about how he borrowed money, how he was able to use the money that he always borrowed previously when he asked the Odin for it, how he used that money to pay off for Kaido's services and how to help them and keep them funded. And he mentions the crazy part is, even though he was a spy, he was actually fully prepared to die alongside Odin. So he was also on top of the boiling water, which is crazy because it's like, it's actually one of the 9 scabbards. It's not someone outside of it. You're like, who is it? It's so crazy. And he talks about how he was so faithful to him, it was eerie. So it's like, whoever is the spy for Orochi is he's legitimately keeping that to 100%. Like, he will die as a spy. He will not, like, show his true colors. So what happens then here is that we get the flashback of the whole series. So basically, it talks about how the samurai's journey from the very beginning, from all the way from Punk Hazard all the way to where they are now, how they left 20 years in the future, the allies they've brought up, the enemies they're going to face, and after several months of dealing with a whole bunch of crap, it's finally come to fruition with, on their end of an army of 4,200 warriors with weapons and ships. 4,200 warriors. And how at Tokage Port, they're going onward to Oginoshima Island, and if only all had gone well. And it continues with Kinemon, Kanjuro, Raizo, Kiku, Kowamatsu, Dogstrom, Ashura, how they're on a boat heading out. And Momonosi's yelling, stop, this is suicide, stop where you are. And unfortunately, it talks about how none of the soldiers are completely present. And so right now, he's telling Momonosuke that they've given up. Even though they're low numbers, they'll sneak into their midst undetected, and that they might plant my katana in Kaido's neck, is what Kinemon yells. And as long as we live, we shall never give up. And so Shinobu's holding Momonosuke at the shore. They're all heading out. And so, you know, one thing's for sure, they're like, it doesn't make sense. Does this mean that our plan was leaked again? He's like, and in fact, for sure, there is a spy among us. And at this point, Kinemon's like, I don't even want to know if there's a spy. And Kiku gets pissed off because he's like, Master Kin, this isn't like you. You aren't prepared to find the traitor, cut him down, and move onward, then none of us can do so. And he's like, well, whoever is the spy will not confess. And Kanjuro turns around and goes, let us clear it all up now by acknowledging that it was me. And he is the spy. Disappointment, shock, and horror, okay? Like, the one who was sent in the future with them 20 years, the one who draws like an idiot and made so many funny gags in Dressrosa, he this whole time has been the spy. Now, unfortunately, inside of me, there's like, as far as we know, because like, this just seemed a little too... I was being quiet this entire time, now I reveal myself, you know? It just feels a little off, but it feels like, well, dang, he's the bad guy. He's the guy. He's the guy. So, what's messed up is like how they talk about how they were about to die together, and he goes, yeah, my role is, that's right, nothing would have completed my role better than to die with you when we were all over that pot. He's like, I shared joys and sorrows with you all, earning your trust. hated none of you, and meaning you no harm. The only thing I did was send Lord Orochi information. And so Kiku is like, why would you do such a thing? And he mentions, my name is Kurozumi Kanjuro. Need I say more? Which is an enemy of the Kozuki clan. So, um, he's talking about how his plan first leaked. That was because of Law Subordinate squealed. I should be surprised that Yasui exhibited quick, clever thinking and gave up his life to change the meeting place at the last second. But as soon as that information made its way to me, his death was officially in vain. Like, everything that's happened these past 20 years and earlier is all because of this guy being the spy he was and giving the information to Orochi, to Kaido, and Zoe, he's like, you can't reach Zoe without a Vivrate card. Didn't you think it was suspicious when Jack showed up there, Dogstrom? Why didn't you suspect any of us? Like, he had trust in them completely. Why didn't you suspect your own until it came to this? And next, we get a panel of the Kaido Beast Pirates. They're coming in, and they're laughing at how there's just a single boat actually trying to take on Oginashima, and how that was planned, and how they knew they were going to be coming. And, the crazy part is, like, they're just a small boat versus pirates, because they're all around. And Kinemon loses it. Like, he talks about, instantly he yells Kanjuro and cuts off Kanjuro's head. Like, you would have thought there was hesitation with that, but, like, he is built with rage. Kinemon has been there for everything since the beginning, and he slices off Kanjuro's head. It does fall off, but obviously that would be too easy. And so it starts laughing, and he's like, I could have kept my secret and stuck to the bottom of the sea with you, true to my role to the very end, but Lord Orochi stopped me and said, well done, the final act is finished. Once I bring Momonosuke to Onigashima, that's when his mission is completely finished, and then he can die any way he wants to. And Kinemon's like, wondering why is Kanjuro back at the port? And you get the greatest deception ever, is that what he killed was the painting. And so we know Kanjuro can't draw well at all. He can't paint for crap. So to draw a detailed clone copy of himself, that threw them off. And that is amazing, because back in Dressrosa, when you met this guy, you laughed at his drawings. He was just stupid with what he was doing. And then we had the whole scene where they're going up Zoe and they're riding this disfigured dragon, and Robin fell in love with it. And you thought, okay, he can't draw for crap. That's his gag. No, he can draw. But his secret was drawing like crap. And that's the writing Oda. That was amazing. And so next thing you think, it's hopeless. They're all gonna die now. The spy is on the shore. They're getting shot up. They're about to get shot. But next thing you know, the ship is fired at when they yell fire, and they're hit. And you get a familiar voice who's yelling, sorry, we're a little late, who's got an X across his chest. You don't see his face. And they're freaking out about, who was that? I thought we sunk all the enemy ships. And they're like, and then Kinemon and them are like, there's something under the ground floor. And as the submarine comes up, there's a voice that goes, who takes a rowboat out to sea in the middle of the storm? Are you crazy? Don't take the sea for granted, you samurai. And we get a very familiar guy who has earrings, a little goatee, and he's holding a long sword with crosses on it. And then next thing you know, another ship blows up on the villain side of the Beast Pirates, and there's another voice who has a little metal piece right here, the big Joker mouth, and he's like, I saw those ships and samurai hanging out at the other ports. What are you doing? I nearly sank them all to get them out of my way. And next thing you know, the next panel is, you hear Kinemon yelling, Luffy, you're all right? And they're like, oh, so you showed up after all, Jaggy. What in the world is happening? And I'd let you have the glory for taking down Kaido. And it's Luffy's ship, and it's Law's ship. Oh, no, sorry. It's Trafalgar Law on the submarine with Kinemon and them, and then it's Kid on his ship. And they're, freaking out, and especially Kanjuro, because he's like, I didn't hear about this. This doesn't make sense. He's like, but these guys are pirates. The worst generation. I thought they were all locked up, is what Kaido's pirates are saying. And Luffy goes, hey, you, don't pick on samurai in a rowboat. When you're at sea, you fight against pirates. And it shows Luffy holding his head, Law and Kid, all there. The monster rookie trio is here to save the day. And it's so cool, because Luffy's wearing a coat over his usual thing, and they're all wearing coats. They're all looking BA right now, and it's amazing. And next chapter hits in 7 days from now. Oda, I hope you stay in good health, because I need more after this. So that was One Piece chapter 974. Okay. composing myself. Alright. So, as far as chapters go, I think you can kind of tell by my excitement who won number one. For me. The reveal of a villain that we've wanted to know for so long. The backstory of the Wano Kingdom completely being finished up to this point. The samurai who've been betrayed and how their heartfelt, fight came to this conclusion. And the arrival of the three heroes we've been waiting to see that have been, on the side for a very long time. Wanting to see them after everything that's happened. One Piece wins number one manga chapter of the week. I mean, come on. Who else was going to win number one? All right. As far as everything else I read goes, sure enough, Undead Unluck will be my number two. I like the development we're getting with they're part of the Union, so the story needs to move forward. Their new goals are quests made by some apocalyptic book, and they have to complete those quests to try to save the world, basically, or stop the rules that are being made. And Fuuko has a goal for how she wants to proceed forward, and he just wants to create chaos and get his duties done as well. So, Undead Unluck is moving towards a great way. I'm loving each chapter that's coming out so far. Hasn't been too much of a stale one just yet. Each manga will have that one, and unfortunately, Undead Unluck has not had its, not unfortunately, but hey, I'm glad for what it's been right now. So that'll continue on, and then next one after that would end up actually being, it's still hard because Dr. Stone and My Hero Academia both didn't completely stand out to me. Like they were, Dr. Stone was funny. Well, honestly, you know what? I'm going to give third place to My Hero Academia because that was a bit more of the things coming to fruition. Like now that the entire Liberation Front knows what's going to happen from here. But mainly the conversation that was going on was between Twice and Hawks, and how Hawks wants to spare Twice, how he wants him to start over. He's like, you could be a good person. You can do better for you. And Twice is more like, no, I'm part of the League. I stopped giving a crap a long time ago about that kind of stuff. Now I will give up anything I need to for the League itself. And it's like that heartfelt argument between two morals and two different sides of the spectrum, how it kind of came clashing together. That was really cool and really interesting between the two. So My Hero Academia will get third place in the ranking. Last one just being Dr. Stone. While we're progressing on further, it was more just the argument of how they're going to proceed, what the best way to go is, what's the better for the crew, what's better for the journey, and how are we going to settle this. Well, we'll settle this in the game of Casino Poker. So that was a good chapter, don't get me wrong, but as far as my rankings go, that's going to be fourth place and last one. So, yeah, One Piece, Undead Unluck, Dr. Stone, My Hero Academia, and Dr. Stone. Those are the rankings for the week. Please like and comment down below. If you liked my video at all, please go down below as well and subscribe for more manga of the weeks. I am hopefully trying to expand on more manga. Maybe there'll be more manga of the week during the week because Fire Force did come out earlier this week. My Hero Academia Vigilantes came out earlier this week, so maybe if I have time, we'll touch on that. I don't completely know for sure, but it is Sunday, and I hope you're having a good one. Again, Viz Media, Shonen Jump. Please subscribe to Viz Media. Go read your chapters for official legal translations to support the authors. Not a sponsored video, making that very clear again, but definitely, if you want to support them, why wouldn't you? Y'all appreciate how they draw and what they do, right? So these chapters, again, were good, though. Can't wait. None of them were on break. All of them will be back next Sunday, unless something happens to the author's health. Hope you guys stay healthy with the Kono going on. And I pray for you guys' rest of your Sunday, and you have a blessed one. And I will see you next time when we read the fray. Peace out.